So first, William, thanks for your story. There's a lot there that I can resonate with and obviously understand as well. So I'm Louis. I'm the newly appointed key account manager here at City Maas. And a little bit about myself. I have a degenerative neuromuscular condition, which makes me a power wheelchair user. And I'm really excited to share what we do here at City Maas. It's what really attracted me to them. So I'll just jump right into that. So City Maas was co-founded in 2018 by the co-founders Andy and Renee, and it all came about due to the fact that Andy grew up around disabled children because his mom fostered them, and he really got real world experience on what it's like to try and accommodate for people with disabilities. So whenever they went on holidays, they always had to try and work around the challenges of physical location accessibility, activities for his brother as well. So it really helped them both really have a passion for really looking at the pain points that some of the disabled community faces, and what we can do to try and rectify that as best as possible. So we have three core products which we use, as you can see on the screen here. Assist Me is our personalization tool that we allow businesses, public sector, and other organizations to use to really create a personalized user experience for individuals. So they're able to tailor their experience according to their needs and preferences. So whether it's stopping animations from automatically starting or changing color contrast because of their vision impairments, or even changing the word and letter spacing for people who have learning difficulties as well, like dyslexia. Our second product is Aware, which is our online web accessibility tool that we use to kind of go through online content and identify errors within in their coding that would be making the user experience more difficult for anyone using assistive technology or anyone with mobility issues trying to navigate the website with keyboard navigation or as I said, any assistive technology tools. And what we do is we look at that in accordance with W3C's Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and it's just a tool that will help organizations just remediate their errors and just make everything more accessible online. But the main product that I want to talk about today, which is very close to my heart, it's actually the one that brought me into City Maas. I found them online because of Mobility Map, and really realized that it's something that I never come across before. As you can tell by my accent, I'm from South Africa, so um, we never really have seen anything like this. We're a little bit backwards in accessibility compliance, like it is here in the UK. And it's been a great journey for me to relocate here and see what the world can be like when things are being done to make it accessible. But the whole reason why Mobility Map was designed is because the world we live in isn't designed for everyone. As William already showed in his early slides of his presentation, there are many locations that have step access. And whilst it is okay for him and many other people, it doesn't accommodate all of us. I've been invited to interviews where I'm interviewed on the doorstep of a building because there are 20 stairs to get into the building. And even though I knew they weren't going to give me the job, they still wanted to interview me. And being invited to birthday parties and things like that, and just not really being able to attend them because there's just no way of actually getting in there. So Mobility Map is our accessibility platform, which is kind of like Google but on steroids. And what we do is we like to provide the ability for anyone to be able to find accessible information and points of interest that they can identify before leaving their homes. rather than having to retrofit their routes or being able to have to just adapt to their environments, which is what we usually have to do. And as you can see, it is a global platform. And what we do that makes us different is we are using machine learning algorithm to identify and predict places of accessibility that aren't already known. And what that means is we're able to broaden people's ability to go out and about. You know, usually, especially wheelchair users like myself, we're forced to go to our local places or our usual hangouts because we know it's accessible and we know that we're not going to struggle to get there. So we don't get to experience new places or places that we didn't even know could cater to us without really doing extensive research online or hearing it via the grapevine. And with our methodology of data layering and our latest study with the Alan Turing Institute, we were able to get a prediction accuracy of up to 95% in certain regions and in some user cases. It's all dependent on the regional location, the age of the places and the buildings as well. And what we do is when we have the opportunity as well to tap into the local authority information, like we currently have for Transport for London, we're able to actually give real-time updates on traffic disruptions, lifts being out of order in train stations, and also being able to help people to plan their journeys more effectively. I recently went to London XL and used Mobility Map for the first time to plan a train journey, and it really allowed me to avoid the stations that don't have step-free access or had lifts that were out of order, which happen quite often than most people would realize. And one of the major things I'd like to highlight about Mobility Map is that this is not a tool that's just for the disabled community. We've realized that even though the statistics show that 1 in 5 people have a disability, we're really seeing that figure is going to be changing dynamically because it's not including those who have hidden disabilities, the aging population who have some form of degenerative condition because of their age, as well as those who are situationally disabled, like people who are um, having rehab from a surgery or they've had an accident and need to use the aid of mobility devices. So we're really trying to create a space for everyone that can help them whenever they need it and in real time as well. But the beauty of a platform like this is it doesn't help. We have a platform that gives people information. We really understood the need to allow other people to provide feedback for us as well, because if we're trying to cater to everyone, we can't imagine what other people are going through. So we need their input as well. And with our form of gamification, we actually allow users to give us their feedback on whether their the prediction was correct, first of all, and whether it was only partially accessible or completely inaccessible. And we've also identified that by using different icons and different colors, we've tried to make it as broadly accessible as possible. And we've really seen a great surge in the public sector looking at our solution and understanding that they can cater better to their citizens because of the feedback functionality and the massive reward that they can get from their community letting them know when things are going wrong. As part of Mobility Map, there was a recent case study done that also helped to identify a hidden housing market where we identified that over 1 million households within the UK are in need of accessible housing. But when we go to platforms like um, the property aggregators, you don't really find accessible homes. And if you do find that they have put some accessible information on a home, it doesn't really tell you about the area. And we've really tried to help them understand that it doesn't help we just say that a home is accessible because myself coming from South Africa, I know nothing about the UK. And when we relocated here, my partner came over first so that she had enough time to scout the areas and look at the places that were around our home as well to make sure that there was step-free access. Because in South Africa, we were used to not having that. And whilst there is, you will find that in many other geographical locations is that there are some curbs that have step-free access, or they have a drop curve, but there are other areas that don't, and it doesn't help we purchase homes and then go out our back doors or front doors and end up being stuck on the pavement and have nowhere to go. So we really helped to really did this case study to show them a real user case for the implementation of our data, as well as the ability to really cater to everyone better. And this is really applicable to even the retail sector for their store locators, and a lot of other industries that are providing information like this. So your event hosters and all organizations like that as well. So I just want to try and highlight some of the unique selling points that we have for Mobility Map, and we have the ability to apply our Mobility Map dynamically, so we can white label it and integrate it into other people's solutions. We can rebrand it for them because what's important for us is not really us being out and about and helping people, but the more organizations and businesses that are using this technology, the better it's going to be for the disabled community and for society as a whole. So at the moment, we only really launched late 2020, where we did a pilot with a Portuguese bus company, and we a white labeled mobility map to help provide a more inclusive bus booking and ticketing tool that allowed people to really travel to the bus stops that could cater for them. Because what they were struggling with is people would get on a bus and be told that they need to get off at a certain stop, but when they got there, they would realize that there's no way of actually getting off the bus because there was no access for them. So it allowed people to plan their journeys more effectively and get off at the right stop so that they weren't stuck on the bus until it came back around its route again, where individuals were being stuck on the bus for 45 minutes to an hour. One of the great things about this is when we look at the data that we're providing and the ability to allow people to travel more independently and safely, we're able to really give them one solution that covers everything. So they're able to rate businesses and their service. They're able to find the right knowledge at the right time to really plan their journeys effectively, and not have to, as I said earlier, retrofit their journey because they're stuck at the station. And Mobility Map is able to be on a web browser, on a mobile device, and also integrated into web apps and mobile apps as well. So currently, we are working with a 5G project that's being hosted by Telefonica, Deloitte, and Wira. And we were trying to look at the different user cases available with 5G technology. And as part of this program, we're working with the West Midlands County Councils and trying to help them address the needs that they have to grow their digital economy, widen their exposure, and in them aiding people within their communities and giving them solutions that allow them to have feedback data when people are fly tipping or they're people that are blocking pavements or drop curves, and really looking at what we could do. And what we have found in our work so far is the ability to predict more data, to transmit data a lot quicker, and be able to really scour the world more and provide more data. Because what we're struggling with at the moment is in some outlying areas, we are only finding minimal amounts of sites that we can predict rather accurately. And the 5G would allow us to really extrapolate those areas in more detail and allow us to transmit that data to the users using our platform. Sorry. So future plans. So In terms of what we're doing at the moment with the 5G project, we've come up with a concept where what we're trying to provide is a voice control tool that allows people to not only search places of accessibility and um, plan their journeys from A, B to C, but also the ability to do that by voice and allowing them to do the whole thing with their voice. So they can not only look up certain places of interest, they can rate things by voice, they can also book accessible taxis by voice, rate their drivers, give the drivers pick up information. Almost like Uber and some of the other platforms, but just a little bit more user friendly. And we've recently also partnered with an organization called Happening, which is looking at providing augmented reality solutions to the public in terms of events. And after some discussion, we've realized that when we're out and about and we don't want to go home when we intended to, and we want to go and do other things, it's extremely difficult for people, especially like myself, to find, say, a coffee shop to go sit at, to get a laptop out or my mobile device out, and to actually go and look what we can do. And with the augmented reality, what we're going to try and do is to integrate it into a mobile app where we are able to either do it ourselves or with the help of a carer, but to actually identify points using our mobile device's camera, very much like Pokemon Go, where you just pivot either in your chair or your carer, and it would really pick up points that are really identified as accessible or not. And most importantly, we've realized that when we're trying to make the world accessible for everyone, it's extremely hard to do that efficiently because everyone is so diverse. Whilst there are many people that have the same condition as me, our needs are all different. There are some things that I can do on my own and they can't, and there's things that they do that I can't do without help. So what we want to do is try and manipulate our algorithm to also provide a user-centric journey planning tool, which allows them to, it will allow the algorithm to learn people's habits. So for myself as a user, I don't generally like to use taxis, purely because most of the time they don't want to pick up people in wheelchairs. But it's more of easier for me to use a bus or and the train. So what we're intending to do is to use the data and the algorithm to really learn people's habits and give them route planning that accommodates to their preferences. So for myself, it would be options that would only show a bus or a taxi, and vice versa for other people, because we've realized that without giving them these kind of options, we're not really able to give them a journey planning tool that is suited for their needs and their needs alone. So that's pretty much it for me today. But what I'd like to say is it's been really great to have the opportunity to speak today and really highlight what City Maas is doing and really showing the world, as William also highlighted, that whilst there are a lot of negative stories around AI being used in the world, there are still people like ourselves and many others who are really trying to make the world better with AI. And I hope that I was able to illustrate that for you today.
Thank you very much. Yes, that was excellent. If anyone does have any questions, please do use the Q&A or pop it in the chat. I found that really informative. I've had a friend who also is a wheelchair user, and I think I mentioned when I first spoke to you how scared he was to leave the house. He became a wheelchair user in his late 20s, and it took a good couple of years for him to feel that he could go out and do things and access things as a wheelchair user. And I don't think he's ever taken the tube, the underground, still. So it's great to see that we have AI technology to help people navigate. Have there been any instances where you've thought, oh, right, the machine's not learning correctly, or anything that's thrown up where you're thinking, right, we need to tweak this, that might be of interest from the machine learning point of view?
Yeah, well, I suppose it would be important to mention that this is not an exact science, and it's always going to need tweaking. Accessibility is not an accurate thing that can always be a one size fits all solution. So, what's vital for us is the feedback that we already get from the community and other users, and we have found instances where we are able to really look at some of the things. So when I first joined City Maas, there were a few things that we had to tweak to make it more user friendly. But again, this is just a new perspective that I had on their technology, and we tweaked it to accommodate that. So I think it's important to mention that all of this was co-researched and co-designed, and we do rely on the disabled community and other unique thinkers to really provide a solution that can cater to everyone. We've had to almost tackle it at one layer at a time. So right now we are really focusing on wheelchair users, but long term we want to be able to cater to all the other major disabilities as well, and all of the ones that go underneath that. It's going to be a long journey, and I don't think there will ever be a time where this is perfect. But I definitely think that we're able to showcase AI is going in the right direction when applied in the right user cases.
Fantastic. We have got a question in the Q&A, which is from Gabriel Brosfo, which says, can you say more about how places of interest are rated for accessibility using AI, especially from computer vision, audio, or other on-location sensor data?
Yeah, so what will happen is if it's a location that we predicted, there is a pop-up that is able to give people information on what it is, uh, where it is, and whether it's partially accessible, or not accessible at all. And what we do is we then allow people to rate that for us, or give their confirmation or deny the accessibility level for us, and that way the algorithm will pick up that answer, and it will accommodate that for surrounding buildings or other buildings that are of similar structure. Because what we've realized is that um, platforms like Google are allowing the business owner to say whether they're accessible. And 9 times out of 10, you are finding venues that say they're accessible. And yes, they are accessible because they have step-free access, but then you have a bathroom that's on the second floor. There have been many reports of that happening within the community. And I think this is our way of trying to remediate that. And we're also looking at trying to also not just show accessible parking and uh, places of interest, but also venues like changing places, bathrooms, because those are far better than the average bathrooms that are out there at the moment.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. There are a few more questions in the chat, which I'll let you answer directly in the chat.
Thank you. I will do so.
Because we're moving on now to our first panel session of Autism and AI. But thank you very much. I'm sure everyone else will agree, and the attendees would like to say thank you as well by clapping. Or
thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Louis. Okay, so up next we have our panel on autism and AI.